everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay, we're good to go then. So my name is Paul Carone, District 38 Pathways Chairperson, and I will have my emails, 2 emails at the last slide when I'm taking questions. So feel free to record those down. If you have any questions after the presentation, feel free to email me. And without further ado, we're going to move right along. So the first thing is be aggressive about choosing your path, progressing on your path, and also concluding your path through level 5. That's where I'm at. I'm trying to do that now and I'm challenging myself. So keep that in mind. It's always important to see where you are with your paths. And I have 4 active paths right now. So it's a little bit of a handful, and I'll go through a little bit of how to maintain your artifacts. I know a lot of people are interested in that too. So let's move along. Here's the agenda. We're going to talk a little bit about some pathway resources. This is a little bit of an older slide, but it still pertains to what we want to learn today. We have our Basecamp login, a little bit on that, not a whole lot, but a little bit for everybody who's brand new to Pathways. And there's even a lot of old members that get away from this a little bit because they were used to the traditional system, and now it's time to do everything online. New homepage, that's important, and it makes your life a lot easier. Before the path consideration, your path selection and the assessment for doing a path selection if you choose to use the assessment. Available paths, we're going to talk very briefly about that. Your path, your projects, pre and post assessments within a project. That's really important. You have to do both. Project completion, level completion, and certificate. And the last thing, which is something that even if you are well versed in pathways, you probably won't know a lot about this, and that has to do with external projects, external to Toastmasters. What if you're giving a presentation to a Rotary or something like that? So we're going to go into that very quickly. So with that, let's move along. Get the boat in the water, as they say. So here are some useful Pathways resources. And the nice thing also here is, how do I find these things? The best way to find a lot of this stuff, go to Google and say, for instance, Toastmasters Path and Core Competencies, and you will find it very, very quickly. So that's an important thing to note. But here's just some of the resources that I found. And one talks specifically about Icebreaker, and we're going to go into a little bit of that later on. I have a slide for resources, and I have to tell you that the district has tons and tons of resources, and I have the link that I'll put up for you. Okay, Basecamp login. I know many of you have gone through this, and as you can see, this is a picture of my login, and I have 3 clubs listed there, and I am a Basecamp manager for all 3 clubs, as well as just a member, so I can log into my Basecamp. You'll mostly be using this one here, unless you're Secretary, Vice President of Education, or President. And I'll have a separate coverage slide set presentation for people that fill those roles as Basecamp managers. Okay, so we go through this, and we know a little bit now about logging on. So you go to the Basecamp login as a member, and there's a lot of things you'll see. Here's the new home page that you land on. And it's important. Most of the time you'll be going right to this area here for your educational transcript. And that's where all good things happen. So if you're in a bunch of different paths, you'll see each one of those paths listed, and then you can visit each one to see where you're at. So that's important, and it's a good way to take a record of where you are with each path. And for me, I lose track of that very easily. So I'm in there all the time just looking to see where I am. I couldn't fit the whole page on one slide, so this is the top half of the page. You see tutorials and references. You can get your information there. There's videos, video links, and there's also the speech evaluations. So if you didn't want to go into a specific path, or if you use FreeToast Host, you normally put in, when you schedule on the agenda, your path and then your project. You can get the evaluation right off of your club website that way. So that's really important, and it's a very handy way to keep track of which evaluations you're handing out for people to fill. Okay, moving on. The bottom half of the page. We showed you the top, now we're showing you the bottom. Someone asked, well, where do you put your artifacts? When someone does an evaluation, it may be electronic or it may be something that you scan that was paper. Where you put it is, if you look at the right-hand side at the bottom, there's My Documents. When you click on My Documents, you'll actually see underneath that a bunch of subfolders, levels 1 through 5. So if you're doing a level 1, project 1, I have a naming convention that I'll show you in just a little bit, but what's important there is that you go to the level 1 folder and you upload that file after you've named it appropriately. So that's really a very important note. Badges, if you want to see what kind of badges you earned for accomplishments, that's always a nice thing to have. And just my feedback, you can get feedback from other members, and it's usually just things in general, and I've gotten some feedback that way. So it's just something to take note of and visit from time to time just to see if anyone's offering feedback for you. Okay, this is really important too. If you did not choose a path, don't panic. Do not panic. Why? Because you really can't go wrong with choosing almost just about any path. And the reason why is, take a look at this. Level 1 and level 2. You see over there a number of different projects. Level 1, you could see there's an icebreaker, the 4 to 6 minute icebreaker. Then there's the evaluation and feedback project, which is really 3 different pieces to that. One is doing a speech and getting the feedback, one is doing a speech and applying the feedback, and one is giving feedback to someone else's speech. So now you're their evaluator. So that's something that's really important to note. And the second level has a number of 2 5 to 7 minute speeches, and it's really quite easy, but it's the common thing is that you don't have to panic. Oh, I chose this path. Maybe I should have chose the other one instead. They're all the same for level 1 and 2, so don't worry about it. You're in good hands. And the last thing, and this is something that people forget about, is before finishing level 3, you should have covered the role of Toastmaster, General Evaluator, Table Topics Master, and Speech Evaluator. So those are things that are mandatory that you do, and the VPE should be checking to make sure that you have covered those roles. So I hope that is clear, and it's easy. It's all easy. Your path selection, okay. Now that we know not to panic, you can go into a path selection and you can choose a new path yourself, or you can eventually, you can move into an assessment which will ask you a series of questions and give you 3 recommendations. So we're going to look at that a little bit. But here you are on this page. This is a really important one. And you can, of course, always go right to Basecamp as well, which is where we spend all of our time. Okay, so our path selection. Over here, see select digital resources. That's what most of you would be doing, and that's what I have done 4 times already. And you can view the path options. So it will describe what each path is. And what's the reason for that? Well, levels 3 to 5 is where the paths start to change. Which ones apply to the goals that you have? What do you want to accomplish as personal goals in public speaking and in leadership? So that's where you can learn all that information. So that's just something to note. So you can do that. If you select the digital resources, it'll give you the option to also here you can see take an assessment. And that assessment is the series of questions that I spoke of earlier. So you can do any of those, or you can just choose the path you want. You can take a look at what each one offers. It's up to you. So it's very flexible. Okay, what are the available paths? There were 10 when I started with Pathways. Now there's 11. They added the engaging humor. But there you can see all the different paths that are available. And you may say, well, gee, what if I want to do a path a second time? Well, here's the kicker. Levels 1 through 5, that's a long journey. In order to take a path a second time, you have to complete all of those paths through level 5 a first time. So it'll be a bit of a challenge to do that, and I invite everyone to take up that challenge. Your path, okay, if you start to look at what the paths actually are, you can see this is kind of an eye test here, but innovative planning is what I have circled. And you can see that there are a number of paths. There's 4 here. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4. And those are my active paths. So you can have multiple paths working at the same time. You just have to keep track of where you are on each one, and it gets difficult when you start to add more and more, which is what I've done. So that's my challenge. Okay, so we saw what that is. We see what a path looks like. So let's go into innovative planning. So this is one of my paths. And as you can see, and it's very important to take note of this. So there's 3 projects here. Projects are displayed as blue boxes, as you can see. When a project is complete, you'll see a check mark. If you don't see a check mark and you thought you had completed a project, you missed something. So you want to make sure that, oh, I completed my first project. Well, there's the check mark to show that I indeed have completed that project. And you can do multiple projects at the same time, not a problem. And you can even work on level 3 while you're working on level 2. The kicker there is you cannot complete level 3 until you've completed level 2. So that is something to take note of as well. And we're going to go into one other thing, and that has to do with doing a project completion. So let's drill down a little bit. Okay, we also have elective projects. That's when you start to go up in levels. You'll have electives, and you can choose. They usually have a selection of 6 or 8 elective projects, and it'll say minimum required, as you see over here up at the mid portion of the slide. Minimum required is 3. So in order to complete your electives, you have to have a minimum of 3. And that can be out of a very large selection. Now it says minimum of 3. It means that you can still do all 8 if you want. Okay? There's nothing wrong with that. And in fact, I encourage that. But you can complete the electives by just doing the minimum of 3. Okay, level 4. So here's what electives actually look like. See, total items are 7. So you see there's 7 to choose from. Minimum required here is 1. So you have to complete at least 1 out of these in order to be able to complete your electives and get credit for it. So that gives you a little bit of information, and it's something that you should be well prepared for, because you'll see electives from time to time across the different paths. Okay, where do people usually mess up when they go through a project? Okay, I'm in a project, I'm doing level 1, speech 1. Okay, project 1 of level 1, my icebreaker. It's going to give you, at some point, assess your skills before. you want to take that assessment and fill all that out, and it will have a submit button down here at the bottom. Once you submit it, you cannot retrieve it or change it. So keep that in mind too. You'll want to complete it. It's usually 5 questions, not a big deal, pretty easy to fill out, but you need to do the assessment before because you can't go back. And if you do the assessment after, you'll wind up getting, it does a comparison at the end before it congratulates you on completing your project. That comparison will show, oh, you didn't fill out anything before, and it shows you before and after. So you'll want to make sure that you fill this out for the before. So now we see what we fill out before the project, before we give our speech, and now we are going to go into the after. And here you go. So now you can see same questions get answered again, and you fill those questions out, and then here's the submit button. Remember, once you filled out the questions and you submit, that's it. You cannot go back and change anything. So you'll want to keep that in mind. But you must do this. If you do this, this is where a lot of people get caught up and they say, oh, I didn't get the check mark on my project. I didn't finish it. Well, this is where the problem comes in, is they usually have not done this after assessment. So you want to make sure you do that. Okay, you filled it out, you submitted the form. And when you click the next page, you get this. Congratulations, you've made it. Isn't that wonderful? It's nice to have that. It's a good pat on the back, and it only gets better from here. So we're going to talk a little bit about moving forward, and where does it get better? Okay, remember I talked a little bit about documents and the level folders where you put your artifacts in. This is something that's a naming convention that I use, and I think it's very, very good. It's workable. It's something that I use to keep track of where I am. So if you take a look at the naming convention, this is what it really looks like. Project 1 of level 1, and it's innovative planning. So there you have the L1, that's level 1, dash 1 is project 1, and the IP is innovative planning. That will keep you on track. So when you put that into your level 1 folder, you know what this artifact was for. And you may not think it's important, but if you have 4 paths going on at the same time, you're going to want to be able to establish which artifact goes with which path and what accomplishments you've made. And the VPE can always ask you to produce these documents. So you want to keep them separated and easy to find. Okay, innovation planning. This is one that's a alternate, so a L1-1, but I put it as a B because guess what? There could be 2 speeches involved with a project. So the first speech would be labeled L1-1. The second one is L1-1B. So keep that in mind. That's just a naming convention, but it will help you out in finding what you need to find. Last one, electives. We spoke of electives just a few slides ago. And there you go. Level 4, elective 1, same path. So now you know everything you need to know to find that document. And that will work well for you up until the point where you've completed all 11 paths through level 5, and now you got to start all over again. So the naming convention will work all the way up till that point. So for those of you who have to worry about that, my answer is you'll want to empty those folders out, store the documents somewhere in an archival folder on your own PC, and then start all over again with the same naming convention. Okay, so we're clear on that. It looks okay. Moving on. Level 1 completion. Okay, so we've gotten to the point where we're requesting our award. That little box that you see at the bottom, you have your projects, and then at the bottom you saw that thing that looked like a package. That's where you make the request. and it will say pending completion approval. Well, when you make that request, that goes to your VPE, and your president can access this, and also your secretary, letting them know that somebody's waiting for an approval on their level. They've completed a level and they want their achievement. They want that award. So it's very important that you get to this point and you see it's pending, and you'll get a notification once it's been approved. They can approve or deny it. This is what it looks like to them. So if you're a Basecamp administrator, you would get this request, and it says that whoever this character is over here, requested by, and you have a level 1 completion. It gives you the date, and this is where they can click, yeah, I know the guy's done the work, so I'm going to approve the award, or for some reason, I'm not going to approve it. So there's an option there to deny if need be. So that's one thing also to keep in mind. But I find that most BPEs are very, very supportive, and I know that they're always positive thinkers, so that's not a problem. Okay, moving on. We made the request. Okay, once you get the approval, you can see it there, the checkbox. There's the little package. That's where I made my request. But now look, you have a view certificate. So now you've completed everything you needed, and you've accomplished your level 1. In this case, it's a level 4. And you can view the certificate. So let's take a quick look. What does a certificate look like? There. And the nice thing about that is for every path, for every level you've accomplished, you can always go back and retrieve a copy of the certificate. So that's something to also take note of. I keep a collection of hard copy so that I know where I am on each path, and I group them together by the path that I'm taking. And it helps keep me on track a little bit. So I'm sure that a number of you have already achieved certificates like this, and it's kind of a good feeling to know, oh, I accomplished this, and by the way, it was on this date. A lot of times people will visit the club and do a report, and they'll say, well, gee, what was the date that you actually accomplished that award? Well, there you go. It's all right there on that certificate. So it's always a good idea. I keep a hard copy of each one that I've completed. And also, it's kind of a nice thing to be able to dig through my bag, pull out the certificates, and look at them all, shuffle through them, puts a big smile on my face. So I feel well accomplished, and I urge everyone to do the same thing. It's really just a nice feeling. Okay. Now we talked a little bit about how you get through all of the different pieces of a path. How do you accomplish the goals? How do you complete a level? Can you work on levels 1 and 2 at the same time? And the answer, yes. Complete level 1 first, then move to completing level 2. They have to be completed in order, but you can work on 1 through 5 all at the same time. So if you like doing things in parallel, feel free. You have 5 levels you can work on all at the same time. Okay, I'm going to be speaking at a Rotary this Thursday, and I want to get credit for it, but it's not inside my club. What do I have to do? Well, you're going to have an evaluator, and there's still going to have to be someone in Toastmasters. However, how you get permission to do an external training and get credit is right here. When you first come in to your transcript area, there's a little pull down, and people didn't know about this. And let me tell you how I learned about it. I got an email last Thursday morning, about 10 o'clock in the morning. Someone asked me, What about an external project, something outside the Toastmasters? How do I get credit for that? And I thought to myself, gee, I've been involved with Pathways for years now, an ambassador of Pathways, a guide of Pathways. I've done all this stuff. I know you can do it, but I don't know how you can do it. So I took it upon myself to dive in. I had to answer this person's question. And it was also a question that I was now asking myself. And how it is there's this pull down. And when you go to this pull down here, you'll see over here, add external training. When you click on that, what happens is it'll have you fill out a form. And the form will have you name your path and your project that you want credit for. And it will have you, once you complete the form, it will send a request the same way as you had a request for a level completion. It'll send that to your VP of Education. They have to approve that. Once they approve it, it has the approve or deny, just as you saw earlier for a level.
I'm sorry, Paul.
Yes. So once you do that, what will happen is they'll give you the approval, and now it will appear within your projects. And now you can go ahead and do the speech and have your evaluation handy, which you store, as I mentioned earlier, in the appropriate level folder for documents. And once it's completed, you apply for completion just as you would with any other project. So that's how you treat an external project. I didn't know this until Thursday, so this is new to me. I'm sure it's new to most of you, if not all of you, but it's a good thing to note. So I just wanted to go through that and make sure that we have a good handle on that, because that's how it's really supposed to be handled. And with that, let's move on. These are the useful links that I have. And as you can see, I mentioned this earlier, these here, first ones here that are listed as international are actually videos. So if you're new to Pathways, you can learn how to log on to international so that you can actually get into your Basecamp. So you'll want to have that. And I'm going to leave this slide up for a minute or two so that you can copy down any links that you want, or feel free to contact me, and I'll make sure that you get the information you need. But this is a video for logging in. So that's the first step. So if you're brand new to Toastmasters and to Pathways, you'll definitely want to know how to do that, because you'll be doing that a lot. You'll want to take in the assessment. Now, I talked earlier about the assessment and the battery of questions that you go through. Once you answer all those questions, and there's a lot of them, there's probably about 40 or 50 of them, when you're done, it'll give you 3 recommendations. Here's your best match. Here's the 2 that are the next best matches. So you'll have a total of 3 to choose from. You do not have to take the recommendation. It's just a recommendation. But it will give you the 3 best based upon the questions that you answered. Last but not least, start your first Pathways project. So it will give you a little bit of guidance on that. And that's always good to know. In the beginning, everybody was new to Pathways at the same time, so it wasn't like you could go ahead and ask somebody else, because everybody was new. No one knew how to do it because they've never been through it before. And I was there like everybody else. And this is a great way for you to get assistance without having to run off to find somebody to help you out. But I'm sure now we have plenty of people that are well experienced in all of this and can get you through any problems or challenges that you may have. And last, and certainly not least, and I want to thank Joe Smith for this, this is a reference that you need. You need this. Everybody here needs this, including myself. So this is near and dear to me. it's our District 38 Pathways resources. You will find tons and tons of information. And I suggest that you visit there. Take a look at what's available to you. There's so many things. There's information on your icebreaker, information on navigation, keeping track. There's something that's very, very useful in that folder, and that has to do with, okay, you've selected a path. Where am I today on this path? What's my next project? You can keep track. They have these forms, one for each and every path, all 11 paths. You can fill that out, and you can do some planning too. Oh, for my next club meeting, I'm going to do this project. Well, guess what? You can keep track of all of that on these forms. And you can plan things right out through level 5 if you want. You can even put dates there and challenge yourself to see if you can make those dates or not. So that's also very, very useful and perhaps a little bit of a motivator. And I have homework to do myself because I'm going to take my 4 paths, fill out those forms so I know where I am at, and perhaps assign some dates for future events where I have to do a particular project. And that will help keep me on track. All right. So that's very important. I hope you all copy those links. Those are very important ones, but District 38 has a wealth of information. So I urge you to visit that. And with that, that's all, folks. The end. And with that, I'm going to give you this slide. I'm going to open up to some questions, but I also want to make sure that you have my information. So I have a personal email on this slide, so you can contact me. And I also have the District 38 email, which again will go straight to me as well. So it's up to you. If you have any questions, we can field them right now. And I did end early, which is kind of my goal. Give us a little more time to answer your questions and also get us out to enjoy the beautiful day. So with that, any questions?
Paul?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I started to interrupt before. I don't know if you heard me, but I have a question. Like you were at the options and you said where you could get the external projects.
Yeah.
I couldn't find it on because I'm on Toastmasters Pathways right now and I can't find that. Where were you? What page were you on?
Oh, okay. Actually, you know what I can do? I can actually bring that up if you want.
Yes, please.
Okay. Let's see. Let me stop sharing for a sec. And let me get, I'm just going to go to international. I'm going to see if I'm still logged in. Ooh. Let me just log in very quickly.
Okay, and while he's doing that, everybody who attended, I'll download the attendance later and I'll send everyone a copy of this presentation. But please do not share it with people in your club. Encourage them to come to the one on the 13th rather than just watch the recording. That way they may be able to get some questions answered. But if somebody truly can't make that, do feel free to share it with them. I figure that's easier than putting it on the website. This way people, if they're requesting it, they're at least going to be engaged in watching it rather than, oh, I'll watch it sometime.
Okay. Let me see if I can get that to share here. Okay, let's see. Okay, so here we are. Everybody's pretty familiar with this page. And if you're a member of multiple clubs, you can click here and it will give you the clubs that you can choose from. And if you're a member of more than one club, it can get to be a little bit of a handful. And there's one more thing, I'll mention this right now. If you want an award to go to a certain club, you have to make sure that you selected the appropriate club that you want that award to go to before you submit your approval for, let's say, a level 1 or a level 2. You must have the appropriate selection here, or it will go to a vice president of a different club. Okay, so that's important, and it's also important because the club gets credit for it too, and you have to approve at 2 places.
Or,
But yes,
or you said before you submit the award, so you don't have to do that before you do the project. You can do the project and just before submitting the award, you select
Yes.
the right club. Correct.
that's correct. That's
Thank you.
correct. But once you submit the award, that's where the request goes to the Basecamp manager. And depending on which club you logged in as is the one that it's going to go to. So you'll want to take a look at that. Okay, now to answer the question.
Paul,
Yes.
you explained about the assessment before we start any path. I understood that we have to do that at the beginning, but at the end, at what time? Once you complete the path?
No. The assessment is in each project.
Or each project?
Yeah. So there's a pre-assessment that you take before you do the speech that's associated with the project, and then there's a post-assessment that you do after you've completed the project and you've uploaded your documentation, your evaluation form.
I see.
Yeah. Then what happens is when you take the post-assessment, that's completing your project. The next page you'll see is the congratulations that I put up earlier.
So after completion of the path, we don't have to do any assessment?
After once you complete the project, you have done the assessment.
No, I understood that, but I am
Yeah.
talking about the path. Suppose I started the presentation mastery. I completed that. Then afterwards, what do we have to do? Go for the next path?
You would go to the next level, right? Unless, or if you're completing an entire path, that means you've completed level 5.
Yeah, after completion of 5, do I
Yeah.
have to go for the assessment again? How we did it?
No.
No.
What you need to do is you choose the next path that you want to try to work on.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now let me
Lucilla,
just.
you have to unmute it.
Paul, can we get back to answering Richard's questions first?
Yeah. Yes.
And then if everybody else could just wait until he answers Richard's questions and then raise your hand so that he has an opportunity to answer everybody's questions. Thank you.
Okay. So here, let me see. I'm trying to find the. Okay, I'm going to go to our paths.
On the screen you're showing now, Paul, you have 3 little dots on the far
Yes.
right side. Move your cursor down on your screen where
Yes.
3 little dots. That's
Yeah.
where
There it is. Yep. That's correct.
I'm sorry, so that's the main page? That's the home page?
That's after you check, go to the transcript. You know, in other words, you're choosing a path. See paths and learning?
Okay, I'm on the wrong, I don't know, for some reason it won't let me go back to, I don't know why it won't, oh, okay, pathways. I'm gonna go back to the beginning for some reason. Okay, so paths and learning.
Yep. And then you go to the box with the 3 dots. That box.
Oh, that's before you,
Yeah.
see, I'm already in a path. That's okay, right?
Yeah.
So I click on the path.
Okay. So where I was
I think it's before you.
I
click
was
on
here.
that.
So see what you do is you go here. This is
Yeah.
Welcome to Basecamp. This is your home page. You click on this here, Paths
Right.
and Learning. When you click there, it'll take you to Paths and Learning. And then you click on this box and see it says Add External Training.
And Paul, there's a question in the chat. I'm sure that it's only for training that you would do in a project in a path, not just any old training out there.
That's correct. Because the first thing it's going to do when you select this, it's going to put up a page that you have to fill out a whole bunch of information. And in fact, let's do that just for the heck of it. We all want to see this. So there it is. See, it has the language and everything else, but then it'll get down to, see here, path, project. So it's the same information that you'd put in for, let's say, when you want to get on the club agenda. Like I said, I'm new to this myself. This is probably the second time I've seen this page. We're all in this together.
Or you mentioned that these go directly to the VPE, or how you send this form? You download and save, and then you send to them, or how that works?
Yeah, there's a submit. I think you select the file, and there's a spot where you send it, and when you send it, it will go to the VPE for approval. Now, the thing that's important to note, though, too, is that you're applying, you're saying, can I do this project outside? Here's the group I'm speaking to, here's the date, here's all the information, and maybe even notes that you may have, you want to upload those and attach them to this. It has that facility. You send all that to the VPE, and then the VPE has to approve you to do that, and you'll get a notification that it was approved, and it will be entered. You'll be able to see it in your curriculum. I have not done that part of it yet, so this is where you guys are pretty much even with what I know about this right now. But the important thing is that it has to be pre-approved.
Right, and the select a file button is if you wanted to attach some documentation to your
Yes.
request.
That's correct.
If you
And
have multi-clubs, you're not going to fill out the form for the multi-clubs. You just, sign up.
No. No, but what you're doing is you're filling this out just so that you can get your VPE approval from your club.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The club that you're going based on the path that, you have registered. I mean, the clubs you have registered in the path.
Yes. So that's one other area, like I said before, where when you first come in and you're going to go to base camp, you want to make sure that you selected the right club so that you go to the right VPE for your approval.
Well, may I ask a question, Paul?
Sure.
Did you mention earlier that somebody could do an evaluation of your speech at this external event? And if so, who does that?
Well, that's one area where the traditional educational system that's now gone had the same thing, where you would have somebody who's a Toastmaster from a club do an evaluation of your presentation or your speech.
And this still has to be witnessed by a Toastmaster and evaluated, yes.
Yeah, yep.
I miss the old program.
Well, there's pros and cons to everything. And right now I have to say that this program is a little bit easier to deal with, especially since we're dealing in a virtual world. It's good to have everything online. And the other thing, how many times with the old program, oh, I'm doing my speech today, but guess what? I left my books at home. So I can't give you my evaluation form that's in my book because I don't have it with me. Well, here you can get it wherever you are. It doesn't matter. And you can even send electronic, and electronic is even better because it's cleaner.
Yeah, otherwise you'd have to keep it in your car or something.
Hey, can you show us?
Well, you could do what I did, right? And that's have 10 of every book and just make sure you have one copy wherever you go.
Okay.
Paul,
Yes.
I want to be clarified on the external training. I interpreted that to mean outside of Toastmasters, not
Cor-
if I belong to a specific club and then went to another Toastmaster club that I'm not a member and give a speech. Am I correct? It's outside of Toastmasters?
No, it actually is also for doing a presentation or a speech or a tutorial to a club that you're not a member of. And
Okay.
there's a spot on the form where it actually says that. I'm trying to see. I know I've seen it,
Okay.
but it's in here, and it will say whether it's outside a club that you're not a member of or something that's totally outside of Toastmasters altogether.
Okay. Thank you.
Because clubs can vote to limit how many speeches you do outside of your home club. So yes, to another club, it would be external training.
Okay. Thank you.
You know, they want to keep it in the membership as opposed to outsiders doing it.
Right.
As a follow-up, Paul.
Yes.
So if I give a speech in another club, can the Toastmaster who evaluates my club be a member of that quote-unquote foreign club as well? Does their evaluation count?
Sure it does.
Okay.
Paul, I have a question. How do I remove my feedback requests from my ePortfolio? I've had 3 or 4 requests for feedbacks on there for a long time, and they serve no purpose. Is there a way to remove those from my Pathways record?
I think I'd have to do a little research on that, so that may be a good one to take note of, but I'm pretty sure there is a way, because I know when I first started, for instance, collecting artifacts and putting documents in my level folders, there were a couple of cases where I wanted to pull the stuff back out and name it appropriately and then re-add it. And I know you can delete from there. I think if you right click on it or something, it gives you the option to delete the document. And I think there's something similar to that for your feedback area as well.
Okay, thank you. My other question, if I may, Paul, is as VPE, how can I access the level of completion and the certificate of other members of my club so that I may download and print them and hand them the certificate either virtually or physically, depending on how we meet? I can access my own level completion certificate.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I would like to access, let's say, yours.
Right. I understand what
because we're in the same club.
Yes, and you're asking a question that I'll tell you, the only way I know how to answer that right now is it's probably easiest to just ask them for the PDF and have them email it to you.
Okay.
And that, by the way, that also goes through from one other thing. I just wanted to mention this very quickly, is that also applies to if you're a VPE and I say, oh, I have submitted my level blah 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 completion, I need your approval. You can ask me, well, what artifacts do you have to support the fact that you did the work and completed everything for that level? And then I would have to pull the documents from the documents folder and send them to you email.
Toastmaster club members have asked me that for the evaluation of different paths.
Can't hear her.
Okay to,
You're very soft. Can you speak up?
okay to use the same evaluation forms.
What about the evaluation form? We could not hear you.
Yeah.
Lot of club members have asked me whether we can use the same evaluation forms for path 1, path 2, path 3, like for different paths, or is there specific evaluation form for different path levels?
Yeah, it changes on a path-to-path basis, but they are the same evaluations as I mentioned earlier for levels 1 and 2. So the thing about it though is that as soon as you put in the project and the path that you're on your club website, if you're using FreeToast Host, it'll have that evaluation form right there. And the reason why I like to do it that way is, let's say we're all in the same club, okay, every one of us. I'm doing a speech, I'm the second speaker for tonight. you're going to choose to be my evaluator. So you get on the agenda and you fill in that role. Now, you can see and pull my evaluation form from the website. I don't have to even provide it. All I have to do is let you get the evaluation form. You can fill it out electronically and you can email it to me, and that makes everything super smooth.
Can you show us live how to pull that evaluation down from this website? How to get it?
Okay. Let me see if I can do this. I'm going to stop sharing for a sec. And I'm going to go here. I'm going to add, let's do this. Let's see. Okay. Okay. I'm going to log into a website. And I'm going to do my password. Okay. I'm almost there. Hang with me. Okay. This is perfect. So I'm going to share this with you. And this is someone who's attending the meeting today. So Kelly, here you are. Okay, so here's an agenda. This is the website, okay? And you can see all of our wonderful pictures, our faces smiling, all that good stuff. And I'll show you something that's important. So Kelly was our first speaker, and very elegant speaker. And see what happens? You fill out your path, right? Innovation planning. See there? Innovative planning. And the project is L2, Understanding Your Leadership Style. Now, see over here, it's got a button that says Evaluation Form. When you click that, and the only way you're going to get that, I'll tell you, is it has to have your path and it has to have your project. There's a pull down, and you have to get that selected. Then anybody who wants to evaluate you can pull that form. They can sign up as the evaluator. Let's see who is the evaluator. This is for the upcoming meeting, so so no one's an evaluator yet. Kelly, I think I'm going to sign up for you. So here's the evaluation form. So when I click that, it downloads to my PC. I can take that, copy it to my desktop, and now I can modify the document. I fill out all the appropriate details, and when it's done, all right, the speech has just been done. I save that form. I can do the verbal evaluation right from the form, and I can get it emailed to the person that I evaluated before the meeting's even over.
But
How about that?
In order to get that evaluation form, you have to manually feed it in the agenda, right?
You have to just log on to your club site, FreeToast Host. Once you do that, you can select what project you're doing, and somebody can pull your evaluation form with no problem at all.
Got it. Thank you very much. This was very useful.
Paul, can I have clarification on this, please? This is Bob Rosenberg.
Yes.
Will this same process integrate with EasySpeak, do you know, or is this only available on the FreeToast Host version?
As far as I know, it's only FreeToast Host.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Hey, Paul, this is Derek Gilbert. Just to clarify too, are you saying that we using the FreeToast Host to do the sign up, and if I sign up for a speaker role and that information in, you're saying that it automatically pulls the specific evaluation form for my level when they click on it, or is this a generic evaluation form?
No. Let me see if I can. Oh, I'm going to sign up. I have to remember to unsign up, but here we go. I'm going to say I want to sign up as third speaker. Okay, so now it puts my wonderful picture up there.
Okay.
I did a better job with that tie than with the one I'm wearing today. Anyway, so here you have it. Choose path and project. See that? You click on that, and let's say I'm doing this. I'm going to do researching and presenting.
Right,
There.
but I'm saying that it knows who you are connected
Yes.
to Pathways,
Yes.
those international. So when I sign my name up, it's going to look at Pathways, pull my tracking, my path, and then I select what level I am. So it's going to automatically allow them to pull down the
Yes.
evaluation for that particular project.
Yes. So
Okay.
so this is how it goes. And you can scroll all the way down. Wow, I want to do a level 5. It's a little tough to work. Okay, I'm going to do a high performance leadership. As soon as you select one of these things, that form is what you're going to get as a download for that particular project, for that particular path.
Paul,
Yes.
to follow up with that, I noticed that it only does that if for certain paths. It doesn't give you a evaluation form for, let's say you want to do better speaker series or like, something like evaluate, motivate, something like that. It doesn't give you a evaluation form. Just wanted to let you know.
Yeah, I think it's strictly for the 11 paths.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah.
But this is for the Toast host. How about if somebody has an easy speak? Can somebody pull it out from Toastmasters.org and pull out the evaluation?
Yeah, I can't really speak to that because all the clubs that I belong to use Free Toast Host. But I can tell you the other way to get the evaluation form and get the appropriate one is for the speaker to be able to provide it, and you can get that right out of the project itself.
Paul, Easy Speak has the same basic features.
Okay.
And it does have all the evaluation forms. Part of what you need to do on Easy Speak is go up to the very top left of the basic screen and click a drop down, and you'll see a whole variety of things. Signing up for paths and levels is similar to what you're showing on your screen now.
Okay.
The wording may be a little different, but the concept is exactly the same. And Easy Speak does track all speeches, all evaluators, and all the roles you've assumed in a meeting once the VPE closes the meeting. So you can go back and register or verify any of the roles people have taken, any speeches they've given, the dates, and the evaluator. So the information is captured there. It does take a few minutes to figure out where what is to be found, perhaps like the screen you're showing us now. But all the information on speaking and meeting roles is available through Easy Speak. Just like on Pathways, you can track every project, every level for every member as long as you're the VPE. And on a different training session, perhaps, you may wish to address how a VPE can download these reports that are progress, level progress, member progress, which convert to Excel workbooks. And you can really effectively track the progress of every member and encourage those who began a project or an online class 6 months ago, and it still shows in progress rather than completed. So the tools available to us, I believe, are exquisite. The problem is I don't find them particularly easy to track unless you spend a few hours trying to figure out the nooks and crannies of these English muffins called Easy Speak or Pathways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, once you get the hang of it, it's not a problem. It's the learning curve that's a little challenge.
Yep.
With that, we are at 10:01, so I do recommend, if you have my email addresses, which I had up earlier, please feel free to contact me with any additional questions that you may have. And with that, I wish you a very, very nice Saturday morning. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Thank you, Paul.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Great job, Paul.
Terrific
Excellent.
meeting.
Thank you,
you very
Paul.
much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Excellent.